Alright, cool. Later. Right now, so Sharmin, I'm gonna take it over to you right now.
Because good afternoon, good afternoon.
Yes.
Put up my mic. So good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Time with Sharmin. I'm your host, Sharmin Prince, and today we're in for a treat. I guess, I'm hoping. I don't know if my mic is on. Are you guys hearing me? No, the mic is not on. Welcome. Welcome. Can you guys hear me? Ay. However, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Time with Sharmin. This is your host, Sharmin. Thank you all for on the live feed, on the Facebook live feed. Thank you for joining us via the TuneIn app or the internet. Whatever mode you're using to tune into the show, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time and your participation tonight. I got a little, there's some distractions going on, but that's okay. Tonight we have a good one for you. However, just a recap of last week. Last week we spoke about the dangers and the effect of using skin bleach. I guess that really didn't go well with some folks, because by the time I got home, the live feed was deleted off of Facebook, and then my faithful listener, Mr. G, sent me the audio. When I posted the audio was reported as spam, and that was deleted. And because of that, I was placed on some restriction, as my good friend Colin Patterson said. I was placed in Facebook jail. But however, I was placed in jail without a charge and without the sentence. But of course, I like my pen, so I wrote 3 letters on 3 different platforms on Facebook, and I told them to look at my records. I've had a Facebook group since 2010 for the last 7 years, and this is the first time I'm experiencing that. And so yesterday I'm trying to post my promo, couldn't do it. However, I decided that I wouldn't put any attachments. I'll just post the promo for the show just like that, and it was accepted. And then I saw that I was able to post stuff even with attachments. So I guess that my pen was effective. And I am sorry to the people that I offended with my show about skin bleaching, but I can only talk the truth. And it is affecting many of us, and I spoke about it, and I'm done. I don't want to ruffle any more feathers because I don't want my videos to be taken down. But that doesn't mean that I will not continue to share things that may ruffle people's feathers or may offend others. I mean, like our topic today, you know, it might offend someone. But before, here is the disclaimer. It is not meant to offend you. This show is about education. It's about empowering and transformation. And for us to talk about the things that we never got the opportunity to talk about. Like tonight, we're going to talk about the sexual repression of Guyanese and Caribbean women of previous generation. My generation, the generation X, the baby boomers, and those generations in between, where having sex conversations about sex was taboo. And last week I learned that sexual repression affects us psychologically, and that blew my mind. And because that's something that I learned, I wanted us to learn together, and so that we can all explore this. Because later on I'm going to tell you what I learned, and it had me thinking for a few days, and then I decided, you know, I'm going to do this as a show. And in the Talk Time with Sharmin support group on Facebook, I posed the question and asked if this is a topic that we should have. And the discussion was phenomenal. We had a great discussion in the group. And then I'm like, okay, so this is something that we should talk about. So here we are. And the topic is, or our discussion, let me read the discussion to you, is, were our Guyanese women, Guyanese or Caribbean women of previous generations sexually repressed because of their culture, their socialization, silence, parental control of sexual discussions, and myths. I'm going to read that again. Were our women from the Caribbean from previous generations sexually repressed because of their culture, socialization, silence, parental control of sexual discussions, and or myths? What do you think? Do you think that there is a microcosm of women from the Caribbean who feels liberated? Not this generation, because I'm going to share a discussion I had with a young woman from this generation. And when I try I don't even want to say imply, to share my knowledge from back then, she said to me, Sharmin, stop it. That was in your time. Our time, we don't care about that. So it shocked me, and I'm like, what did you just say? And she said, in our time, we don't care about that. In your time, people were more sexually deprived, or I don't want to say deprived, deprived might not be the word, but we were sexually inhibited. You know, despite you might participate in certain things, you wouldn't want to share it because you're labeled and you could be stigmatized. There were a lot of women who were stigmatized, who were free and who spoke freely about their sexual lives. So that was cultural. So the culture has evolved, and there is this sense of freedom because in most of the Caribbean countries, but we wouldn't talk about this free generation, this generation that is free. And while researching, we have to give credit to artists like Dextra and Patra and, well, the Lady Saw, and those singers that were sexually explicit and really help women to free themselves and to be a little more vocal about sex in general. In the culture, you know, women were more conservative. I have to share this story, and I'm sure I wouldn't call her name, but just, I think it's Thursday evening, I'm speaking to someone, and she said to me, this is a woman that is over 50, I am boring in bed. And she said she told, you know, her boyfriend that, and I'm like, really? What does that mean? And she said, I'm just boring. And, you know, I asked questions. So I asked her about, and you should just ask her, I don't know, the most gross thing. And she got so uncomfortable. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to have this conversation on the show. Because there are a lot of women like that who, because of our culture, our parents never told us that it's okay. We never had sex conversations about our bodies with our parents. I'm gonna divulge this. I never knew that women could have pleasured themselves until I was age 27. And listen the context in which I learned that. We were in church at YWAM at a deliverance service, and the person that was doing the service got this revelation that there is someone with pornography under their mattress and they masturbate. And there was a woman who you know, confessed to it. And I was in total shock. Of course, they prayed for her deliverance and whatever. So that's the context in which I learned that women do that. So think about it. It's in a religious setting. It is deemed as sin. It is also deemed that you need deliverance from that. So obviously, I have all these hang-ups and wouldn't participate, right? Because it's sinful. How many of you were taught that? We were taught that sex before marriage is a sin. We were taught that anything other than vaginal intercourse is sinful. But we have the liberated generation who, those things are not taboo. They'll have conversations with you about it. how many of you and people in your generation feel comfortable? Because even, I'm very free and liberated, and even having that conversation last week and having that with that person and having that conversation now, it's uncomfortable because I know that people aren't comfortable talking about sex. And is it because of our socialization, because we were socialized? You can get with some girlfriends and you can start that conversation, and you can see that if you're in a group of five, you may have one other person that is willing to have that discussion, but the other four are like, oh no, that's private. We don't have those conversations. So the number here is 718-342-0510. Again, 718-342-0510. That was supposed to be the intro of the show, and I just went on and on and on. But that's the intro of the show. We're talking about the reasons behind our discomfort, our repression of even talking about sex. And how it affects us. I never knew that being inhibited can affect you psychologically. When I learned that last week, I was like, oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that our repression, and then of course I started reading about it, and there are not many articles on, but there are articles on other women, and see studies done on women, especially in our generation. So what you guys think about my long introduction and what we're discussing tonight? The number is 718-342-0510. Again, 718-342-0510. Do you think it's because we grew up in homes where our parents, especially our mothers, did not have that conversation with us? Is it that even the music during that time was the message was subliminal, and women artists were not as open and liberated as Patra, Lisa, Dextra, and the others? Do you think that's the reason? What are your thoughts? Or do you think this is something that, we shouldn't be talking about? And I think it's that notion that we shouldn't be talking about it, and parents don't have that discussion with their children, and so their children learn from their more advanced peers in school, and sometimes they learn things the way that the parents don't want them to learn, but it would have been too late. So what are your thoughts? What do you guys think? Is it cultural? Well, of course the culture has an impact. Do you think religion? I can answer that for you definitely, because I remember when we were in church and a sister sharing what she likes, I remember the pastor wife saying to her, "Sister, blah, 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 you going straight to hell." You going straight to hell because she likes to have fun with her married husband. Then right after that, we had an evangelist come from Trinidad, and she said that whatever goes on in the matrimonial bed is okay by God. So here we are with two different. You're conflicted. You're there, and you're like, okay, what do I do? And I think that we need to have this discussion, because if you are a Christian and before you turn a Christian you just enjoyed certain things, but now you're a Christian, you can't do that because it's against your religious belief or the religious religious principles of the whatever denomination you're in. What happens? How does that affect a person? Would that person have to hide to enjoy whatever it is they enjoy, or they have to be quiet about it? 342-0510. Hi everyone on the live feed. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, what do you guys think? For the past week we've had a lot of stuff going on. You know, we had the I'm diverting. We had the jailbreak in Guyana, the fire, and our dear President Granger said it was an accident waiting to happen after he saw the rubble. So we need to continue to pray for Guyana, and pray that, you know, God really intervene and things there's some changes. There are still, I think, 5 prisoners on the loose. So we just hope that they aren't senseless killings, and you know, even kudos to those prisoners who actually released the taxi driver. They didn't kill him, so at least they have a heart. And he said after he told them about his child, they released him. So we want to say, you know, thank God that he was released and he didn't lose his life senselessly. So the number is 718-342-0510, 718-342-0510. DJ, and thank you to my new DJ. This is his second week, DJ Chester.
Yes, I'm here. I would just like to say, if you on Facebook and you want to join the live feed right now, just join. Go like the Talk Time with Sharmin page on Facebook. That's Talk Time with Sharmin, SHARMIN. You can watch the live feed with us right now.
Thank you. I have a millennial as my DJ.
So right now, I just want to play this song for my people in Guyana because I know that it's a little bit crazy over there with all the violence and the jailbreak and the fire and everything is all confusion. So this one for my peeps out in Guyana.
All my black people, down on my top, all you little children.
So yes, welcome back again. I'm your host, Sharmin. And our topic tonight is, I gave a long introduction. If you missed it, I'm so sorry. But our topic tonight is, do you think that the previous generations, not this generation, because there is there is sexual liberty in our young people, in the millennials, liberation. Some of you saw how liberated they are in those videos that were circulated. But in our generation and previous generations, that the women I'm talking about, were sexually repressed because of our culture, because of our socialization, because of taboo. You know, your parents never had conversation with you about sex until you, in Guyana, and I'm sure in the rest of the Caribbean, we say, until you turn a young lady, until you attain puberty, right? That's the only time you have conversations with your parents, and some of them don't even get into details. All they will tell you is stay away from boys. Really? So, and no one told us that, nor even taught us that you can pleasure yourself. I shared in the intro that I never knew women could have done that. I just thought that only men had, and mind you, I used to read a lot, so I used to read things that I was not supposed to read. So by the time my mother would give me that half or a quarter or a third speech, when I was 13 years old, I already knew everything about puberty and about sex and how babies came, that it wasn't airplane or the nonsense that you were taught. So I had not my own knowledge from reading, but I didn't know until I was 27 and that women masturbates, and the circumstances in which it happened within the church setting, there is no way that would have crossed my mind and or even tried it. So here we are, I'm 27 years old, and that's when I understood that women pleasure themselves. And what led me to have this conversation, I know some of you are cringing because you're a part of our sexually repressed generation, or you're and as we call it, conservative. Last week, I learned that sexual repression, and this came out of psychological studies, affects us psychologically. And I could not believe that. I could not wrap my head around it, because in our generation, no, that was taboo. You will have that conversation. You have to sit with your feet closed. You can't, so just thinking about touching yourself was prohibited, and it's nasty, it's bad, it's demonic. You need deliverance. Let's take you to church so pastor can pray for you because you're possessed. But look at the hypocrisy. We wouldn't do that. We didn't do that to our sons. or if you saw your son pleasuring himself, you wouldn't rebuke him. You wouldn't take him to pastor so that pastor could pray for him. And so the disparity, the gender disparity was one of the things that affected us. So what is sexual repression? Now, sexual repression is a state in which a person is prevented from expressing their own sexuality. Sexual repression is often associated with feelings of guilt and shame. Being associated with guilt and shame from the sexual impulses. Now, in my time, if you had any desire other than having vaginal sex, you were led to feel guilty. You were led to feel as though you're bad, you're shameful, you're a disgrace. There were labels attached to your names, and you were called all kind of stuff. Now this liberated generation, I remember having this conversation with a young woman, a millennial, and I said, you don't allow men to do you X, Y, or Z because you'll be labeled. And she's in the midst of me saying that to her, I am trying to pass my sexual repression onto that generation. And she said, hold up, Sharmin, hold up. No. That was in your time. That's not our time. And I said, what do you mean? And she went on to explain to me that no, nobody's labeling you. We're free. I couldn't imagine that I'm having that conversation with a younger generation, a younger Guyanese generation, young woman from Guyana, because we're so conservative and we don't have those discussions. So I am trying to safeguard her from being labeled, and she's like, hold up, no, that's your time. So now I'm looking back in hindsight, I was trying to transfer my sexual repression to the next generation. But then you stop and you ask yourself, where did I learn that? Because no one told you that those things were bad. It's just the things that you heard or the negative connotations that was associated with it. And it's the silence, what you weren't told. You were led to assume things. And no one had those conversations with you, right? So, I know it's uncomfortable for some of you. It's really uncomfortable. It's even uncomfortable for me. Because despite my DJ is laughing. Because despite I am, I think liberated, I know this is not a conversation that we have, and then we're having it publicly. How dare you, Sharmin? Last week you came with this taboo topic of skin bleaching. Now look at you, you're pushing the envelope. I know I am. But it's something that we need to talk about. Right? It's something that, it's a conversation that needs to be had. And if you're uncomfortable talking about it, I am sorry, but I believe when I learned last week that it affects us psychologically, I was like, hold up. So I need to have that conversation because I didn't know that a woman could masturbate until I was 27, and after the circumstances, I knew it was a sin. I knew that you go to hell if you do that. I knew that it wasn't good for you, and all these religious attachments, because I don't want to offend my church people and my religious people. Caller, you're live. Welcome to Talk Time with Sharmin. Call us back. The number here is 718-342-0510. Don't be shy. Let's have a conversation. You know how uncomfortable it was? This girl that is like my child, because not in. I am so sorry. Caller, please call us back. No, all for the past year I've had experienced DJs with me, and I never paid attention to what was being done during the show. Caller, you're live. Welcome to Talk Time with Sharmin. I am fine. How are you? Okay, we need some volume for the radio.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
No, not your radio. You turn off my mic instead of turning the radio.
Hello?
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. And this topic that you're having this weekend on sexual repression.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my generation, it's a taboo to talk about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in school, if a boy wrote you a letter, just say that I like you. I mean, you got a beating. If you were caught speaking to somebody of the opposite sex, you were reprimanded. Today, I have an adult daughter, and if she talks to anybody of the opposite sex, I'm happy, because guess what? I don't want my daughter to be a lesbian.
You see that? And where are you from? What's your background?
Okay, a mixture of West Indian and African.
Okay. So you had a double portion
Yes.
of that cultural repression.
Yes.
Wow. Now, can I ask you a question? As I shared, I never knew that women could have masturbated until I was 27.
I never knew that until I was in my 30s.
So I'm not that bad.
I never knew that until I was in my 30s. And guess how I found that out? On a talk show.
Look at that. Look at that. I knew that in a religious setting that they were praying for the woman, and she had to be delivered. So if in that kind of setting, it was traumatic. You know that that's not something that you do. That's not something that you touch.
That's right. And guess what? And in our generation, that stigma, that label that is placed on you, right, is something that is not nice at all.
Right. Because in my generation, if a woman performed oral sex and it came out,
you were stigmatized for the rest of your life.
She was labeled for the rest of her life.
Yes.
And called all kind of names.
Yes.
And it might be a friend. When she comes to your house, you want to give her a separate cup
to drink from. Yes. Yes. And you wouldn't even, your utensils, you would not even share your utensils with that person. That person is stigmatized for life.
Yes. And that was a conversation I was having with this young woman who actually grew up in my arms. And she put me in my place. And she's like, no, that was your generation. And yes, last week I was talking with a psychologist, and he said to me, do you understand that masturbation it's a natural part of your sexuality? And he said that sexual repression of your culture has affected you guys psychologically.
Yes. 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 Because with your partner, because of that sexual repression, you cannot express yourself openly with your partner. Because if he is from that same generation as you are from, he too will label you.
Yes. And you may, that is so right, because I don't know if you heard me share with my friend, and she's telling me she's boring in bed, and I've never heard of that. Right? And then when I boldly asked her, I said, did you ever have oral sex? And she looked at me like I said, you have 10 horns coming out of your forehead.
Yeah.
Oh boy. How do we help our women from that generation to become a little more liberated? Because I'm sure a lot of them are listening to me and they're like, I would never call that station. I would never make a comment on that show, because that is private and I'm too conservative.
Really?
Yeah.
But when your partner is cheating with somebody else and you can't understand why he's cheating, you better be aware of sexual awareness and know that, listen, you have to please your partner.
Bingo. 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 Because that's it. But also the religious dogmas that keeps us inhibited. I think I shared when this sister was talking about what she does and expressing herself sexually without shame and guilt. And the pastor wife said, Sister X, you going straight to hell. Mind you, she's sharing the fun things that she likes to do with her husband. And the pastor wife is saying, you going straight to hell.
No, the pastor's wife is saying you're going straight to hell, but she's never experienced it. Now, the one who has experienced it is in heaven.
Yes, so we need to turn up the volume for the phone. And you could turn, yeah. Well, thank you, Marcel. Thank you for sharing that sharing that you couldn't hear the guest. But what the guest just said is that the pastor wife saying that what, could you repeat it?
The pastor's wife, the reason why she made that comment is because the congregant is in heaven and the pastor's wife has never experienced it, so she's in hell.
Do you think it's because of our culture and the way we were socialized? We weren't allowed to have these conversations.
Yes.
We weren't even with our girlfriends. Yes. You weren't allowed to have those conversations, because if you were talking to your girlfriend about sex, they become uncomfortable and then they go and they gossip.
Yes. Yes. I think socialization is the key to this. And I think if we are able to talk about it freely, if we are able to, express ourselves and educate we need to educate our women, right? We have been oppressed and suppressed for a long time. And I think we need to